So what would you say, like, you and I connected on this last time when I was on your podcast, of this, like, having this curiosity for life. And even doing more research on you, it's like, okay, for sure, like, you live, breathe this idea of, like, being a student of life and
Yeah.
so curious about life. And, like, I'm just curious, like, what would you say is the importance of taking an outlook like that as you're trying to, like, figure out your life, and even once you've figured out your life, to continue to kind of have that?
Yeah, awesome question. Curiosity, man. Curiosity is, I think, it's a superpower that we all have the capability of having. Curiosity is what keeps it fresh. Curiosity is what keeps is what allows for expansion. And for me, like, I've got this post-it note right here that's on my computer, and it says 1,000 miles per hour, because this to me is a reminder that we're on a planet that's spinning 1,000 miles per hour right now as we're speaking, as we're having this conversation. And like,
Crazy.
I've like always been wired for that, because like, to me that's freaking mind blowing. It's fascinating when you stop and look at it, and like, you think about, like, we let a lot of things slide in the day to day monotony of life. It's easy to let a lot of things slide, like the fact that rainbows exist. Explain to me rainbows for a second. Like, there's colorful beams of light that are shooting
Yeah.
across the sky. Like, rainbows exist and we still have the world. What? Like, rainbows, caterpillars turn cocoon and turn into a butterfly. How can you explain that? Like, there's like, we're able to sit here and we're hundreds of miles away and we're having a conversation, understanding each other, communicating, and people are listening right now in another medium through headphone vibrations coming in, and it's making them feel a certain way. Like, what? We're human beings on a planet, and like, no one knows like, how we got here or what the heck we're doing. So like, that's pretty interesting to me, and that's pretty fascinating when I stop and think
Yeah.
about that. And that's why I have that reminder of like, so we got to stop letting stuff slide. And curiosity is that piece that allows me to keep expanding and seeking and growing, because like, I'm just so curious. It's that in Zen Buddhism, they have a concept called beginner eyes, of like looking at things through the lens of a kid or a child, when the world is like this fascinating
Huh.
place. Like, we get really bored. I have a new nephew who's just a couple months old now, but he's like, he looks around at everything with such amazement, and
Yeah.
like, more of that kind of thing. So I also think that curiosity breeds compassion, because when I can be curious about why someone is the way that they are, I can have so much more compassion for them. When I'm curious, when I approach a situation when someone might be having upset, or the stranger, the person walking down the hall is like all pissed off, or I get a brunt of a bad interaction, or the barista at the coffee shop's like, giving me some attitude. Like, if I can
Yeah.
approach it with curiosity, it gives me a lot more compassion. I don't know what this person's going through. Maybe
So
they have the
real.
worst day of their life. Like, it breeds compassion in that way, and understanding that we're all humans just doing our best.
Yeah, for real. And I like what you said in the beginning too. You're like, it just keeps it fresh. Like,
Keeps
for
it
real.
fresh, man.
Like, there's, if you're just curious, you're like, you are like that childlike figure that's just like wandering around, like, what? Like, there's this screen and there's like another human on it, and there's, it's like,
That's
it
it.
is crazy.
It's a constant drug-free trip that you can be on nonstop when you tap into it. And it's like, the
For
curiosity is
real.
what has led to all of these amazing environments. Like, it was such an enriching experience to go to Japan and study at this, and learn at the school and do this fellowship. And like, that wouldn't have just happened if I didn't take that first step and be curious and just reach out to the guy and be like, hey, what's this about? Hey, what's this
Yeah.
about? Like, ask the question. And you ask the question, like, you don't know what it can possibly lead to. And that exploration is what leads to, in my opinion, so much fulfillment and adventure. And it breaks you out of the monotony of the day to day, regardless of what your job is, regardless of what you're doing. Like, just
For
get
real.
curious, start asking questions, because like, the world's like this big video game, and all these characters, everyone around us, it's like, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Growth doesn't happen in a vacuum. You don't find the career that you want in a vacuum. Like, you got to get out there. You got to ask questions. You got to rub shoulders with people. You got to like put yourself out there. And when you do that, like, magic just happens.
Yeah.
It's so humbling. And then it leads to even more heightened sense of curiosity, because you have all this evidence. And like, my story is
Right.
evidence after evidence of what happens when you follow that curiosity.
Yeah. So one thing I'm curious that's kind of in alignment with this as well is, I know you're a big believer that, like, the world essentially is conspiring in your favor. Like, if we talk like The
Yes.
Alchemist for a sec, right? It's
Yeah.
like you are being set up um, like the universe has got your back, essentially. A million
Yes.
different ways we could say it. And I would be curious for you, like, how would you say this comes into play as far as like the world conspiring in your favor as you're trying to navigate throughout your life? Because, some of the things I've heard you speak about, and you could touch on this more too, is like when you fully step into, like, let's say a business you're trying to do, pretty magical things happen because the world's here to support you. And so, like, as you're going throughout this process of figuring out your life, how would you say that sort of ideology like comes into play?
Yeah, good. Another great question. You got to follow the breadcrumbs is the way that I say it. And that's the way that I love describing it, is like, and I touched on this earlier too, but there's clues. Think of it as a scavenger hunt. Think of it as a fun scavenger hunt. And when you think about it that way, it becomes a lot less daunting. Like, start with what you do know. And then like, it's this fun scavenger hunt or class project where there's like, it's open book. Like, this is open book and the world is the book that's open for you. And like, you have the ability to pave the path that you want. So I think that the universe conspiring to help you make it happen. If you like 30 days, give it 30 days and just act as if that's true. Because you got to like really believe that's true in order to witness the magic that actually brings. It's like, you can't just kind of half believe it's true, or you can't just like, I get the idea of it, but I don't really believe it. Like, you got to believe it. And I always tell people, act for 30 days, act as if nothing, it's not going to get worse. Give me 30 days. The worst stays the same and nothing changes. But 30 days, just like act as if the world is working in your favor and the universe is conspiring to make it happen. And my promise to you is that you will see synchronicities, coincidences, call them, moments of alignment, rendezvous with certain people, opportunities unfolding that you actually just couldn't make up. And you'll be aware of it now that you're looking for it. Yeah. So give yourself 30 days and act as it, like, this is a scavenger hunt, and start with what you know. Like, there's clues left throughout. I mean, I talk with so many people and like what they're doing in careers that are aligned. Like, they've had an experience where when they were younger, this was all they were attracted to, or that they really liked this piece of things. And then when you're working with mentors or people like yourself that have practical exercises that you can go through to uncover some of these answers, like there's help on the way. Like, it's open book, and there's some questions, or there's some answers in the book that are exactly the answers that are on the test. You just might not know. So you can get those answers by reaching out to the right people. So it's just about following the breadcrumbs, in my opinion, and like taking what you do know and then like taking a step further and buying in, fully believing.
Yeah. What would you say is a moment in your life where you were like, holy shit, like that was the world conspiring in my favor? Like, and I'm sure you got a lot, but like, what's one that you're just like, that's insane?
Yeah, man, it's a daily basis, man. I'm living in it's a pretty crazy thing, but like, I think one of the more, as it relates to this career element, I think it was really this idea of, once I identified what I wanted, in an opportunity, in a job opportunity, and I stopped to actually ask myself the questions and write that list out. Again, I wanted to work with a mentor that I could learn from. I wanted it to be in the education space. I wanted it to be remote. I want to make money while I'm doing it. I want to be close to the impact and feel like I'm having an impact on people's lives. Like, those are 5 pretty specific things. And I'm not even kidding. Like, within a few weeks of focusing on those things and shifting my focus to, instead of like, oh, it sucks that I don't have any of these things right now. Right. And I shifted my focus towards, these things are on the way. Like, I know that this is out here. I believe that it's out here. I believe that every day I'm one step closer towards it. And I would sit and visualize like that opportunity coming to me and flowing to me. The next day I had a call with this guy, Xander Fryer, and he was like, hey, I might actually be looking to hire you. And the rest is history. So like, literally I'm talking the next day that something like that happens. A guy named a mentor kind of figure who works at a company called Shit You Don't Learn in College, right? Who's offering me a role remotely in his company to work and help impact people, and is offering to pay me to do it. Like, I don't know. That's kind of tough to make up, in my opinion. So that's one. But the shift there was like, again, it comes down to that belief and shifting. Notice where your focus is. And if there's nothing else I get across to people, I think is what helped accelerate that is, as long as you're focused on what you don't have and what you don't want, you're just going to get more of that. And it's never going to shift. All your focus and awareness is going to be on that. So like, focus, energy goes where focus flows. So it's like, it's going to just expand. So there's two sides to every subject. There's two ends to the stick. There's what you don't have, there's the lack of it, and then there's the thing that you actually want. Most of us are focused on the lack of it. And in that moment, I was getting to this dead end spot where I'm like, it sucks seeing my savings running out. It sucks not feeling like a greater momentum or purpose or having an impact on people's lives. It sucks not seeing income go up. It sucks not being able to learn right now, not feeling like I have the opportunity to learn. And I was focused on that for a month, 2 months, nothing changed. As soon as I shifted, like, let me start to focus on what I do want. This is what I want. And let me start to focus on, instead of how bad it feels that I don't have these things, let me focus on how good it's going to feel when I do have these things and when I have it as a fact. And as soon as that switch happened, man, everything just started unfolding at a rapid pace. And that was a full transformation.
Yeah, that's wild. And it's crazy too how sometimes it happens in a day, sometimes in an hour. I mean, it's the world works quick.
Right. And that just leads to that more evidence and belief that, like, the world, the universe got your back, God, whatever you want to call it. And one thing that I might recommend for people is, like, you've got evidence. You just have to stop and look at it. Like, look at the things that, and I think it actually comes from Tony Robbins, like priming exercise. I love the priming exercise he does, where it's like, you know, the things you're grateful for, and like, what are the things that felt like coincidences but led to something beautiful or meaningful in your life? Like, what are those things? Write a list of those things down. Every single human, if you actually stop and think about it, like, there's a whole list of things that you have. And when you start to look at, like, wow, look how I received these things. Look how these things came into my life. Maybe there is something to this. Let me buy into this and let me continue to focus on this and then see what happens from here.
Yeah.